one of the things, who is this right here? Oh, that's the watcher. That right there is the watcher. And what he does is he watches over the universe. He can't interfere. But there was a series called What If? And the watcher had to ask the question, what if things hadn't played out the way they had played out in specific parts of Marvel movies? Captain America, Black Panther, all these other things. But bottom line is, I get this question asked often. All right, Godfather, got it. You are 50 plus years old, but what would you do if you were a younger man today? How would you live? How would you move? What would you do? Well, and that's what we're going to explore today. Now, here's what I'm going to require for everybody. I need you to keep the engagement up. Moderators, we're going to have more people in the chat room than normal. As long as they're being cool, that's cool. But if I see anybody acting silly, we're going to get that up out of here. Hold on. I hate reflections. All right. So, candle of the evening. It's my one from One Hotel Brooklyn, and then fragrance. Today I decided to go for a twofer. One is called Oud for Greatness for Thanksgiving. All right, so here it is. Here it is, here it is, here it is. Bam! And you say, God damn, this is a dope jam. Is everything good? Let's see what's going on in the chat room. Appreciate it. Because let's bring up the lights a little bit more. Because I will tell you this, it's hard out there for a young man. So in the description, it says, if I was between the ages of 21 and 35, how differently would I live in these modern times? So some background information, when I use the term Henry, Henry is a term that means high earner, not rich yet. For the sake of this conversation, we're talking about anywhere from about $75,000 to $90,000 a year. In the grand scheme of things, Henry's really over $200,000, but that's not really what we need. We're talking about if you're making if you're making three times your age. So let's say you're a guy who's 30 years old and you're making $90,000 and living in Atlanta. You are in the Henry status, brother. And let's say you're not officially a Henry yet, but you're a Henry in training. Let's say you're in college. You just got out of college. You have your degree in computer science or something. I don't know. You're a truck driver. Bottom line, you're on the way. You're what I call a hit squad, Henry in training. So between 21 and 35 is what I want to focus on right now. All right. So if you want me to answer a question, throw it in the super chat because things are moving a little bit quick over here. And I want to get into it. And I'm also depending upon how you guys are contributing and stuff, it will determine whether or not I open the panel. I want to say this though. I have been getting more emails and messages talking about how different Thanksgiving is this year versus every previous year. I think this is one of the first years a lot of guys were looking forward to going home for Thanksgiving and sitting down at the table. I mean, guys are came and said they brought talking points. So, Auntie, have you heard of this guy named Kevin Samuels? Oh my God, people are losing their minds. And here's the thing, good for you guys. Have the conversation. All right, let's get into it. First of all, a quick overview. I talked about it the other night when the audio was going in and out. I need you guys to focus. I'm going to actually make a video about this, but there are roughly 3 masculine archetypes. There's the refined, there's the rakish, and then there's the rugged. Okay, and I don't want to belabor that too much, but most men, the majority of men fall into one of these archetypes. I fall into the refined archetype. And let me read some of this stuff off too, since we want to get into it. Refined masculine, masculine archetype. Understand where you understanding where you fall is important as well. Refined. Mm, 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 mm. Here we go. All right, so just a general overview. A refined man is a man who is financially and influentially masculine. He bends the world to his will by the means of his connections, his money, his social and political power. He's capable of mixing both direct and subtle elements to accomplish his ends. That's what the category that most fits with me. All right. And no one is greater or better than the other. They all have their uses. The next one is going to be called rugged. Rugged is a man who is physically masculine. He bends nature to his will by means of brute force and like a caveman attitude that kind of borderline with that no nonsense kind of thing. There's nothing subtle about a rugged man, and everything in life exists for a specific direct purpose. He's an adventurer, a mountain man, a gladiator, a blue collar worker. The majority of men fall into this category. And it's going to be important that you understand your masculine archetype because your image, how you carry yourself into the world, needs to line up with who you are. And then the rake. The rake is a man who is socially masculine. He influences individual people by his will, his attitude, his charisma, and his disdain for the rules of society, and being beholden to another man. He is capable of using direct elements to accomplish his goals, but he lives largely in a subtle world, always thinking 2 to 3 steps ahead of people around him. Um, and this is like if you think of Johnny Depp's characters that he tends to play in Hollywood, he tends to play a rakish kind of character. I know I don't want to use these archetypes because, especially in these spaces, they get kind of overused, in my opinion. But this is quintessential Sigma male kind of stuff. All of these men have something to do. Refine, rake, rogue. Refine, rake, rugged. Which one are you? No, and that's one of the things I would. If I were a young man, I would start because you're at the bottom of your earning potential, at the bottom of your purpose. So your image is going to be critical. It is how people are going to identify you now and in the future. So, one of the most effective things a young man can do is honestly figuring out his archetype, understanding his style, personality, and living and working in those and living, dressing, moving, and working in those environments. Because you have to ask yourself, how does a refined man live? How does he speak? What does he live? What does he eat? What does he drive? Who does he date? All these things. And it's not necessarily a matter of your profession. It's a matter of an archetype. There's a masculine archetype and a style personality. So like with me, I'm a refined masculine archetype with a European style personality. Think James Bond. Think James Bond. Think James Bond or think the guys from Suits. Well, actually, the guys from Suits lean a little bit more corporate. Harvey Specter on Suits, he leans a little bit more corporate powerhouse. Think of your typical CEO or your typical politician, and that tends to be much more of a ghost on power. Idris Elba, a lot of the characters he plays, that tends to be an all Americans kind of style personality. Now, European American and corporate powerhouse may look alike, may look very similar, but they're different in so many different ways. But me, refined European, and in particular, what style of European? There's French, Italian, and English. I actually will be refined European English because I tend to like a well constructed suit with proper lines and everything like that. Why is this important? Because as a young man, many young men today mess up with their image because you're still dressing like you dressed when you were in junior high and high school. And you don't have to do that. There's ways to dress yourself well on a budget. But one of the biggest mistakes a lot of young men make is dressing too young to be taken seriously and then hanging on too long and not moving it to the next level. Why is this important? Because one of the biggest mistakes, one of the things I would do right now if I was a young man, one, I'm talking about between the ages of 21 and 35. I would definitely live in a major city. For me in particular, London, New York would be right up my alley. I like densely populated urban areas. I do not like sprawling, expansive cities like Houston or like LA where you got to drive everywhere. I love public transportation and I love density because lots of different reasons. But you need to find a city that actually works with you. Now I know a lot of young guys are gonna be like, well, damn, how can I live in these places? These costs of living are so high. That's the next thing I would do. You got to have roommates, gentlemen. Bump this thing about living by yourself. Let's say you live in Dallas, though, or Atlanta. This one you need to get a duplex. You and your roommates splitting a duplex. So you have your own house with your own, have your own privacy. And today of Airbnb rentals, one of the things that you young people have, younger folks today have, is people aren't telling you to do what they told my generation to do. They told us to rush out and buy homes in our 20s. And I'm glad that I didn't do that because so many people got stuck. See, as a young man, you need to be flexible. You need to be able to move to where the opportunity is because the world is changing. If you're living in New York City and New York City's hot, right? Let's say well, when the .com explosion happened, what is the show on HBO, Silicon Valley? You need to be able to be there, or the Silicon Valley of the South, Austin, to take advantage of all of that investment capital, all these other things, all the connections, the energy, and everything else. You really aren't going to be able to take advantage of stuff like Silicon Valley living in Denver. You need to be living in it. Case in point, Oklahoma, I moved to here, to Atlanta. Atlanta opens up all kind of things by being geographic. So I would worry, once you get your image together, understand what that is, then where you live, your geography. Geography determines a lot. Geography determines a lot. Now, once you're there, you're working. And you know what I think, gentlemen? You got a full-time job and a part-time job. Your full-time job is how you're living, paying your bills, saving and investing for the future. Your part-time job is how you're investing in your most valuable asset, you. This is where you're investing in your skills to get you compensated. This is where you actually pay for coaching, personal development, self-improvement. Um, your full-time job pays for your core skill sets. Your part-time job pays for your soft skill sets or your EQ. And it's the EQ, the network, that is what's going to help you expand exponentially. Because if I were a young man today, there is no way in hell I would be living in this world alone. You need to find your wolf pack. And that's 3 to 5 men that live in the same place that you do, work in similar industries, that when one gets promoted, he opens the door for another. I'm telling you guys what I did because so many young men fail because you're trying to do everything by yourself. You need to be a part of a group, a Network. If you're an attorney, you need to be hanging out with an accountant, a physician, a dentist, um, somebody, a couple of entrepreneurs, and somebody who's good in finance or real estate. You need to think of these as little. Think of being a Henry or a hit squad as being a big fraternity. And then when you're on your own campus, you need your little chapter. Your chapter is your guys. Your guys are the guys that have the ability to level set you and check you. Because the biggest thing that can throw you off at today is getting out here messing with women. Because today, in a heavily connected world, plenty of fish, Bumble, Tinder, hookup economy, swipe left, swipe right, whatever. That is the thing that throws us men off more than anything else. Getting involved with women. So between 21 and 30, I would not be spending any more than about 7% of my time dealing with women. 7%. So let's say that's enough to go on a date a week. You can spend, 4 to 6 hours a week with a woman, but nothing super serious. And my motto would be double bag it. You better use 2 condoms. Because the one thing that could screw you up out here is making a child outside of wedlock. One, you're not ready for it. Two, the things you need to be doing, the things I'll be doing right now as a younger man, I would be in a city with my wolf pack, you know, making money, investing, taking risks, doing things, failing, starting over. So you need to be, that's what I'll be focusing on. So minimalism has its place, gentlemen, but I would not be playing defensive. And I hear a lot of young guys talking about being defensive. No, at your youth is when you go on the attack. This is when you risk. And how do you make sure you can take care of that? This is when, if I were between the ages of 21 and 35, young Henrys, what do I've already told you where I live, the geography. I get my wolf pack. You need to be in a high profile gym. And you need to be working out 4 to 5 days a week because you need to build up to be an athlete for life, working on your strength training, your diet, and your flexibility for when you get older. Also, this is when you need to be taking up some sort of martial art. You need to be proficient. You need to know how to handle yourself. I know so many young men who, if you are out with a beautiful woman and somebody who crossed the line with her, you just have to wait for security to come. You need to be proficient with your hands and your feet. You need to be able to knock a mother sucker out. God forbid it ever happens, but you need to be able to. Hold on. All this stuff you guys want to have, you want to have nice stuff. How you going to be able to defend it? Everywhere I go, I carry this, amongst other things. You know what you can do with this. You know what you can do with this. If you actually have any form of actual combat training, you know what this is. What you can do with it. Pow! You can actually break a windshield if you need to. Non-lethal, or can be lethal. What you can do with this, and it hides in the palm of your hand. Gentlemen, you're going to be living in a world where you're going to be separating yourself from the crowd. You're going to be living in a bigger city. You need non-lethal. You need a blade, and you need a pew 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 and a shotty. Yes, a shotty for home defense, a P365 for concealed carry, a nice 3 inch or less blade. I prefer a harpy. I carry a harpy. EDC, everyday carry. So I love it when people laugh about, yeah, you got that bag or whatever. Yeah, you don't want to see me going in that motherfucker. It's funny because it's true. One of the biggest ways young men end up messing up today is because you don't know how to fight. You don't know how to fight. I mean, an actual fighting system. So when your manhood gets challenged or whatever, you got to talk shit. You got to talk loud and hope nobody calls your bluff. And in a world where everybody got this, everything that you trying to build together, you end up getting into an altercation or a situation. You don't want to be seen uh, catching an L. But see, the way you don't catch an L is the way you carry yourself. Men who actually are really trained and to take care of themselves tend not to get into confrontations because it's the last resort. You don't carry yourself that way. You don't talk loud. You don't get aggressive. See, a lot of guys talk a lot of shit and sound like they're real tough, but they can't. They got no skills. I can tell you, most people, you if you're trained, you don't even have to fight them. All you gotta do is move around. They don't even have the wind. They can't even do 1 3 minute round. All you gotta do is move around for 2 minutes. Let them swing. They'll tire themselves out because they all mad. The adrenaline's going. They're breathing all heavy. They're breathing up here. And you just and you hit it with a nice 2 piece in the knee and bye bye. Keep on moving. Serious gentlemen, get in that gym. Get in that gym. Learn a martial arts system. Get certified that you can actually shoot and hit a target with your handheld. But then you need something for home defense. You cannot. It would be unwise to use a handheld at home. That thing can go through windows. I mean, go through walls. That's what a shotgun is for. Aim to the room, pull the trigger. Buckshot, buckshot, birdshot, buckshot. Remember that from Dave Chappelle? Buckshot, or birdshot, birdshot, or rock salt. Bird, rock salt. Boom. Rock salt takes care of a lot of stuff. What is it? 2 2 1 1 1. Buckshot, buckshot, buckshot. Birdshot, birdshot, bang. Birdshot, bang. Birdshot, bang, bang, bang. Yeah. So, chat room is fast. Yeah, there's a lot of people in here. So, young men, why is this important? Get the likes up before I lock the chat room down. See, we should have over 4,000 likes. See, I got the chat room to set to where people can interact, and y'all ain't even hitting the like button. All right, I'm gonna go to members only. See, why is this stuff important? What's the most important thing of all this, guys, is